Hi, this is Winning Mealtime. My name is Chris Ying, and today I'm going to be showing you a few variations on the beloved slider. The first one I'm going to show you today is a little off book. It's a little non-traditional slider. It's not a cheeseburger. This is a pork burger that I actually learned from Dave Chang. Dave learned this recipe from Phyllis Willis? Phyllis Willis was the wife of and founding, one of the founding farmers of Niman Ranch, one of the sort of most important pork farms in American history. Phyllis taught this pork burger recipe to Dave when he visited Niman Ranch many years ago, and it's very, very delicious. I've had it a lot in my house, and it's dead simple. And for me, a pork burger was something kind of newish. And it probably is not something that is the first thing that comes to mind when you think of a slider. So this is about a pound of ground pork. So Phyllis and her I think husband were the founding farming family of Niman Ranch. And Niman Ranch was the first, at least for me, when I started cooking professionally in the very, very early dawnings of the 2000s. Niman Ranch was the first time I'd ever even understood that there was differences in quality of pork. The first time I had a Niman Ranch pork chop, I was like, oh, this tastes completely different than anything I've ever, what I'm used to. And, they ushered in so many different farms that would go on to, make amazing pork. And so obviously they cooked pork well. And Dave was talking about having this sort of classic recipe. I think you can still find this recipe on the Niman Ranch, I don't know how to pronounce that properly, website. In the original recipe, they used saltines to fill out this pork burger. We didn't have any saltines, so I'm going to use buttery Ritz crackers instead, but I think it'll be fine. So to about a pound of pork, I would say maybe a little less than a pound, half an onion. Let's throw an egg in there to bind it. I already put some salt and MSG in there to season. So what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 crackers that I'm just gonna crush in there. And this serves obviously the same purpose as breadcrumb or rice or whatever you would add to a meatball mixture. That's another couple crackers. And then you just gotta squish and mix. Needs a splash of milk too. Look at this. This is good. Look, this is good footage right here. I'm so sorry about that, everybody. I'm so sorry. But yeah, the sliders are, to me, I say parachute meal. I know there's nothing like, oh my God, this guy serves hamburgers to his children? Wow, how so innovative. No, we don't generally do hamburgers. But we almost always have a bag of King's Hawaiian in the fridge or the freezer. And then typically I've got a little 1 pound brick of ground beef in the freezer or in the fridge, or a little brick of ground pork. And if it's 1:15 in the afternoon and I'm taking a look at the rest of my work day and thinking to myself, oh man, there's no way I'm gonna get home early enough to make dinner. I didn't really plan anything. I'll text my wife and say can you pull out a brick of meat to defrost or something? And then you can always have this. And we do sliders rather than, burger night, because 1, nobody can tell how many I've eaten. And 2, I don't know. It's just, I find it's another thing with the kids where all the difference in the world is made by the size and shape and presentation of the thing. There's something my kids are really into, and I don't know if your kids are too, but my kids are obsessed with oh, that's so cute. And if I give them a little cute little hamburger, they're more likely to eat it than if I give them a full-size one. All right, so this is the pork mix. It was onion, so most of a brown stock of Ritz, about a pound of ground pork, an egg. You can do 2 eggs. Splash of milk, salt, MSG, and half of an onion. And we're just going to treat this like a burger from here. I'm just gonna do a little patati patties. And I was gonna do this. The guys brought out these cast irons for me to do this on, which, you know, if I was trying to shoot for perfection, I would do cast iron. You know, you're gonna get nice crust on there. It's gonna be more likely to be non-stick, but I'm trying to be true to life here, and I don't like cleaning up my cast iron after, so I'm not busting it out for Tuesday night dinner. You can save this. This will hold in the fridge. Also, this doesn't have to be a pork burger. You fry this and cook it in some tomato sauce, and baby, you got a meatball. There's not a lot going on here. There's not a bunch of seasonings in this one. This is just the flavor of good pork. And you can understand why a pioneering pork hog farming family would have recipes that highlight pork. So these are pretty close. I'm gonna start toasting our little bunsies here. My kids say they don't like mayonnaise, or at least one of them does, but evidence is to the contrary. I was introduced to this recipe when we were doing a recipe club, our podcast episode on ground pork, and I think Dave brought this recipe to the table, and I don't know, it occurred to me, I was like, I love pork. Why haven't I ever eaten a pork burger? It made no sense to me whatsoever that my favorite of the meats is something that I wouldn't just turn into a hamburger. But again, all credit to Phyllis Willis. 2 burgers, both alike in dignity. One for our more cooperative, cheese-loving child, and one for our contrarian, cheese-loving, but not on my burger child. For our next slider, we're gonna go traditional hamburger, cheeseburger, hamburger, beef. And this, listen, what am I gonna show you something about making a hamburger you don't already know? Maybe, but probably not. But worth talking about a couple of things. One, this is not only my kids' dinner cheeseburger meal, but it is also the meal I make when dinner was a nightmare, the kids weren't eating, mom and dad were frustrated, we drowned our sorrows on Friday night with 3 margaritas. This is what I make for my wife late at night when we're both hungry and kind of tipsy, are these little burgers. So I flatten them on the board instead of, just forming them into patties in my hand, just because I like to make sure they're sort of a uniform thickness. And I'm not chasing a fat burger here. I'm chasing a very thin emphasis on the sort of brown crust of the burger. I grew up with my parents when they made burgers on the rare occasions they did. When my parents made burgers as a kid, they took like a bag of Lipton French onion soup dip mix, dried mix, and mix that into beef, and that was the patty. So to me, a burger has always been about onion flavor in some shape or form. That's why I love McDonald's cheeseburgers. They've got those little desiccated onions on them, and why the only seasoning I put into these is onion powder. I'm not seasoning the other side with these for a specific reason. When you can, give it like a tiny bit, but they're so thin. There's not 2 sides of this burger, and 6 out of 10 times I will over season my burgers. When they're this thin, I don't bother. I do like to give them a little squish. I do sometimes also wonder if my kids wake up in the middle of the night sometimes and think to themselves, why does it smell like hamburgers in here? Because mom and dad are drunk downstairs eating hamburgers. Okay, so if you're making it for the kids and they don't want onions, fine. If you're making it for mama in the middle of the night, just thin sliced onion. I like a lot, but that little bit is too much. But you can see as these are cooking, the fat, all those juices are accumulating. That is where, right here in this little zone, the fat zone, also what they call this right here, is where your onions go. Because I just want them to fry in the juices coming out of the burgers. And give that a tiny bit of salt. All right, see, that's where I want to be. The onions move into the burger zone once they've left their home. The onions immediately move in, swoop in on that low price real estate, and make use out of all those juices that were right there. Okay, so with burgers, I know when we were talking pork burgers, we were talking about how, you know, some kids defy all logic and don't want cheese on their burger. My house, when it comes to these sliders, your only choice is onion or no onion. I refuse to allow my children the freedom of choice in not getting American cheese on their burger. Unfortunately, that's just how things run in the Ying household. All right, you'll also notice that I am moving things around a bunch because I'm only willing to clean one pan if it's burger night, slider night. So into this same pan, a little butter so we can brown our buns. There's always a couple of abnormally small King's Hawaiian. No complaints, I'm just saying, that's facts. These burgers are done, so can put over to the cutting board. All right, Kewpie. Look how tiny this one is. Those patties looked pretty big when I made them, right? But they contract when they shed their fat. The buns are like, I was buying aspirational sizes. You know what I mean? Like I was this fat burger, and I was like, well, I bet if I work out, I'll get small enough to fit on that bun. And look, it worked for these buns. Beef fat onto, this one will be mommy and daddy's burger. I mean, this is so small, it's ridiculous. So, onion for the sophisticated kid. You can leave these, I know that Chang likes to serve them as rectangles, but the kids like them as little actual sliders. And there's the second slider, oniony cheeseburgers. We done the pork burgers, we done the cheeseburgers. The last little slider that I use at my household to fend off the hordes of screaming, hungry children is the hacky chashu bao that my dad makes for the kids. He didn't make this for me when I was growing up, but when we go to visit my parents, he always makes this for them, and they seem to gobble them up. And it's basically, if you've ever been to dim sum and had like one of the baked chashu bao, not the white fluffy ones, but the sort of brown versions of them, that's what this is a riff on. So this is some store-bought barbecue pork chashu. You can make it. My dad makes his own chashu. I don't, or haven't really, but he does, and then he'll make. What's funny about it is like he takes the time to make his own barbecue pork, but then does the hack part of it, which I'm all in favor of, which involves just basically like basting King's Hawaiian rolls with honey butter and baking them. So, I'm showing you right now, so obviously I applaud it. I just think it's funny that he does the hack thing, but goes to the trouble of making his own roast pork for it. So I'm not gonna do that. We bought this from Chinatown you know, ostensibly you'd have some. I wouldn't go out and buy this just to make these sliders, but you know, if you happen to be by a Chinese barbecue shop, pick up some chashu. A fantastic way to make use of leftovers. Not that there's often leftover chashu. A little hoisin sauce, just because I want them to be a little saucy on the filling here. A little honey, just for poops and giggles. Oil. That's gonna be our filling. That's really it. This is like I said, this is Hack City. That's our filling. And then for the buns, I tried melting some butter, although it's taking its sweet time doing that. Honey. This is how we do, or how my dad does pork buns for the kids. But as I was thinking about filming this recipe today, I was thinking, if you've ever been to the internationally famous chain of dim sum restaurants known as Tim Ho Wan, they do like a kind of unique variation on the pork bun, on the chashu bao. Theirs is like a hybrid of what Cantonese bakeries call a pineapple bun or a bolo bao. I think I may have just conflated Mandarin and Cantonese. Don't yell at me. Which has kind of this like, it's still a bready little bun, but it has this kind of like crackle, sugar, almost like a cookie crust on top. Like maybe it's something you would see like on a Mexican concha. Super delicious. You can stuff them with all sorts of things. At Tim Ho Wan, they make their pork buns stuffed with this crackle crust. It's just like over the top, ridiculous, decadent, super sweet. I want to mess around with that, so maybe on another episode of Winning Mealtime here, we'll screw around with the pineapple bun stuffed with something. Andrew, one of our culinary producers here, was saying maybe we'd stuff it with ham. Ooh, like a ham and cheese stuffy. Okay, nothing to this. I'm gonna put that there. I'm gonna put this here. But these King's Hawaiian rolls have that same sweet, yeasty flavor as the proper buns you're gonna get at dim sum, which is why this works and why I was so proud of. And who knows, my dad has probably just stole this off of some Chinese Instagram he saw or something, but very proud of the innovation when he first introduced me. I thought about doing the crackle crust on these, but the whole point of this is that it's hacky and you can do it quickly. And having you make a cookie paste to put on top, it's not in the cards today. All right, I'm gonna throw this into the oven. All right, into this one. I've got it on convection. I'm gonna set it for 375. And we'll give that 5, 6, 7 minutes to get toasty and crispy and hopefully warmed through. And that's it. Be right back. It's been about 5 minutes. Come on. You know, lost a little detritus, but that's Papa Snacks. You can see the little crispy crackety. It's wild. They smell correct too. But that's the last little slider hack. This isn't something we usually do for dinner, unlike the other ones would be like a last second dinner. You could do this for dinner. This will forever be to me an afternoon snack because that's how my dad serves it to the kids. There you have it. 3 variations on, like I said, the slider is my parachute. I have nothing planned. I've got maybe some leftover roast pork, or I've got a brick of beef in the fridge, or some leftover ground pork. I'm gonna go to the slider to save the day, or save the afternoon, as it were. And you know, that little handheld package for the little paws is sort of a perfect size. So hopefully these are helpful. If not, we're still here fighting the good fight with you, and we'll show you some more tips, tricks, and whatevers. Talk to you soon.